You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, a singer sees his popularity boost after an appearance on American Idol.
Eventually, we're going to have warmer temps than what we could ever fathom for the beginning of March. And not only that, carry a string of it into the weekend, the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And from Pokemon to Harry Potter, we're going to have some entertainment news for everyone in the family. All that and more coming up. Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. BP wants to appeal a court's decision that allowed Mulberry, Kansas to sue over soaring natural gas prices last year. BP filed 2 documents last week that indicate it wants to shut down a lawsuit filed by the small Crawford County town. One document seeks permission to appeal a February 8th ruling by Chief District Judge Lori Bolting Fleming before the case goes to trial. In that ruling, Fleming removed the Mulberry City government from the lawsuit, but allowed individual residents to proceed with the action, which claims BP's price hikes during a deep freeze in February of 2021 were price gouging. The second court document outlines BP's belief that it cannot be sued by the residents because they do not buy their gas directly from BP. Oklahoma Congressman Markwayne Mullin says he will run for the U.S. Senate seat that is coming open after Senator Jim Inhofe's surprise announcement that he's retiring before his term is up. Mullin said in a video message that he planned to enter the race as expected political shakeups began. Mullin is a plumbing company owner and citizen of the Cherokee Nation. He's currently serving his 5th term representing Oklahoma's 2nd congressional district. A liberal Missouri man pleads guilty to manslaughter charges and is sentenced in connection with the death of an Oronogo woman in February of last year. Ryan O'Neill gets 10 years in prison for first-degree involuntary manslaughter. Last year, O'Neill was driving a pickup on Highway 43 when he crashed head-on into an SUV. 23-year-old Sevy Davison was driving that SUV. She died at the hospital. And a Southwest Missouri woman is dead from an early Monday morning crash. It happened on Lawrence County Road 1110, a mile west of Miller. 50-year-old Lori Reed of Miller, Missouri, was a passenger in a car that left the road and overturned a little before 2 a.m. yesterday morning. She was pronounced dead 90 minutes later. The driver was in serious condition. Well, Southeast Kansas musician saw his career receive quite a boost following an appearance on American Idol. Photojournalist Daniel Camp caught up with Nuke Bushner to find out where his career is headed.
6 a.m. Just got up to start the day. We started doing things. We started playing some shows, and I've traveled the country. I've been everywhere. I've been from the East Coast to the West Coast and played about every little bar you can imagine. Traveling through all these towns and stuff, it really feels good to when I pull up in a small town and I come to a bar and it's like the small town vibe, just like where I come from, and it's a good feeling. It ain't been long.
We're proud of Nuke. Just everything, the ups and downs he's had to go through to get where he's been, and has not gave up. You couldn't ask for a better guys. He doesn't give up.
My mom was kind of she was the rock of the whole family, and losing her, I would say it kind of made me go harder, you know, because she said, well, I know you're going to make it big, but I might not be here to see it, and that hit me harder than hell.
I'm just super proud of him and just the way he's doing things. He's conquered a lot, ups and downs, and he's made it through the bottom all the way to, he's headed to the top.
Crazy thing is, you know, I never thought that I would make it this far. I really didn't. Just coming from where I come from and from a small town, things like this don't happen. And it's long.
We wish him the best. Well, Jelly's partner in crime is feeling nothing but love today. March 1st is National Peanut Butter Lovers Day. Yeah, this is different than National Peanut Butter Day, which is January 24th. You gotta have a peanut butter day and a peanut butter lovers day. This is for the fans of the creamy or crunchy spread, not for the spread itself. It's for those who enjoy it as a snack or need it in their desserts or like to experiment on new combinations with it. The National Day calendar says Peanut Butter Lovers Day was started back in 1990 to commemorate the anniversary of peanut butter's commercial debut in the U.S. An unnamed doctor is actually credited for first providing peanut butter back in 1890 to patients who had difficulty chewing.
I'll go with, because I like.
Are you a peanut butter lover?
I like, I'm not a chocolate person, but I do like Reese's peanut butter cups. And I love peanut butter with carrots and celery.
Oh, okay. I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of peanut. I like getting like the honey infused peanut butter, like on the jar when it
Whoa.
says honey on it. Add
I
that sweetness to
feel
it.
like the sugar just went through my system.
Oh,
right there.
it's just, it has, yeah. It used to be,
I did not know we were infusing peanut butter.
well, not a big fan of the peanut butter and jelly, the ones that are mixed together. That jelly in there is kind of gross. I like having my own jelly to add with it. With the jelly already in the jar, no. I feel like it needed to be refrigerated.
Peanut butter on toast. I'll do that every now and then.
Yeah,
I got that from my grandfather.
peanut butter. Do you like Nutella? No. No. No Nutella for Michael.
That may rank higher or lower on the list depending on how you do the totem pole than the actual peanut butter with the jelly in the same jar. Someday, folks, Tanya and I will talk about combining ketchup and mustard.
Another day.
Another day, please. Not the 1st of March because it's too nice. We need to enjoy the beautiful weather that we're going to have. Now, we're not going to challenge any records. That dates back to 2006 where we got up to 87 degrees. But the fact that we're seeing anywhere from 30s to 40s right now, luckily, we've been able to pretty much move above the freezing mark. We're still waiting here on Miami and Grove. They're at 30, but we've had a nice little bump up in Parsons and Neodesha that were actually in the mid to high 20s earlier. So we know the sun is now beginning to take effect as the Skywatch Storm Tracker remains clear as can be. And this afternoon, probably by noon, we're talking about mid to high 60s, top out. Really about 2:30 to 4 o'clock is when we find our peak temperatures this time of year. And we'll be up into the 70s, and it's not just the sunshine, it's also the good stiff south wind. That'll come in with gusts of 35 miles per hour. So we will talk about an elevated fire weather concern all the way through the end of the week. But if we're going to elongate that time frame that far, it also shows you that it's going to be delightful as far as our temperatures. Ride those 70s all the way through. By the time Saturday rolls around, we are going to be in need of some rain. And we'll catch up with the drought monitor here in just a little bit.
Well, up next, people who worked under Bush, Obama, and Trump are all concerned for Putin's mental health, claiming this isn't the Putin they knew. We'll have more details. And later, the Screen Actors Guild Awards happened on Sunday. We're going to tell you who won and why it made entertainment history. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. New CDC guidance might have folks wondering whether they should mask up. People living in areas where the COVID risk is low can now go without a mask or social distancing. CDC outlined new guidelines with less emphasis on testing and more on what hospitals are seeing. Locally, some health experts say in light of declining case numbers here, they agree with the new guidance. In Newton County, daily cases have been in the single digits.
I think that, especially with our numbers as low as they are, that the public can be confident to go out and enjoy activities as normal without wearing the mask. Certainly if you have underlying conditions, you might want to continue to wear the mask, but overall, for healthy people, the mask would not be required.
There are currently only 6 active COVID cases in Newton County. President Biden is expected to announce a major overhaul of nursing home equality. The president's plan, which will be announced during his State of the Union speech, will include minimum staffing levels and stepping up inspections while continuing to keep an eye on the spread of COVID. The plan also includes a new requirement for minimum staffing levels, which experts say is the most important marker for nursing home quality. According to the nonpartisan Kaiser Family Foundation, more than 200,000 residents and staff of long-term care facilities have died from COVID. While nursing homes account for a small part of the U.S. population, they've accounted for more than 1 in 5 deaths. Well, there are growing questions about the mental condition of Russian President Vladimir Putin. People who have observed him for years are noting a major change in his attitude and behavior. Jillian Turner explains.
Many times, and this is a different Putin.
World leaders who've been dealing with Vladimir Putin for decades are questioning his mental state, some calling him a madman, unhinged and paranoid.
He seems erratic. There is an ever-deepening delusional rendering of history. He's descending into something that I personally haven't seen before.
It's not just Bush administration officials. Obama's intel chief and Trump's national security advisor are alarmed.
I think he's a little unhinged. I really do.
I don't think he's a rational actor because he's fearful.
One former ambassador to Russia says when dictators rule for decades, they become disconnected from reality. This is exactly what's happened to Putin. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are calling him delusional.
I'm really starting to question the competency, mental fitness.
The last 2 years, he's even been more isolated. He was very COVID phobic.
The perception among some foreign leaders, like President Emmanuel Macron of France, is that even when one-on-one, Putin is keeping his distance. After that encounter, Macron described the Russian leader as, quote, more rigid and more isolated. The world took notice when Putin publicly berated his close crony and intelligence director. Some former officials claim Putin's behavior is consistent with the past, even as he continues to ratchet up the stakes and the rhetoric.
The so-called Western community, as I called it in my speech, an empire of lies.
An intelligence source says Putin doesn't use a personal cell phone or the internet. If true, he really is cut off from the world beyond his compound walls. Another source tells Fox News the Kremlin sometimes stages made-for-TV clips in which Putin appears to have a cell phone to give the impression he's plugged in. In Washington, Jillian Turner, Fox News.
Ever wonder what would happen if the world were to be reigned by giant cats? No. Well, a Japanese restaurant in Osaka may offer you an idea. Well, you know what? They've got giant monsters there, so that's okay. Sitting beside miniature houses, a family of stray cats who now live at the diorama cafeteria entertain themselves by smashing model trains moving within a huge diorama installed in the restaurant to the cheers of delighted customers. The restaurant has not always been this lively. The original idea was to create a space where diners can enjoy watching miniature trains running on railway tracks. But everything changed when COVID-19 hit. Facing the crunch brought by the coronavirus, the business struggled and was on the brink of shutting down for good when a stray kitten changed the owner's luck. The owner hopes the restaurant can bring delight to more customers during the COVID-19 pandemic.
It made me laugh. I give the owner credit because it's super creative. I always told the wise one, you don't want to spend too long in my brain because of the things that go through it. But no, I've never wondered what it was like if the world were ruled by giant cats.
Yeah, well, it's a cute idea. You know, have you ever been to Fritz's in Kansas City, down at Crown Center, where the trains bring you the food and stuff?
Yeah.
What if, like, cats, well, you wouldn't want the cats in the same thing as the trains, or as the food, but, like, it'd be fun to have, like, cats just riding all over the place.
Not gonna lie to you, hygiene was the first place I went on that.
Yeah, you gotta work on that. You gotta keep the cat hair away from the food.
Also, too, lack of hygiene, lack of opposable thumbs. Our business model is running into dead ends here.
Yeah.
But folks, we will continue to work on it. Tanya and I are the definition of perseverance, to say the least. On this first day of meteorological spring, and you go, wait a second, spring doesn't start until later on this month with the spring equinox, and you're exactly correct. That's called astronomical spring. And the equinox on Sunday, March the 20th, begins the calendar/astronomical version of it. But we dumb it down for the most part when it comes to meteorological spring. Start at the first of a day, run until the end of the month, end of a month, and split it into 3 different months. So spring will last March, April, May, and then we'll pick up with meteorological summer on June 1. And what it does is it normalizes the days of the season, because if you roll from equinoxes and solstices, you could get anywhere from 89 to 93 days, while this will kind of put it in between about 1 and 2 days as far as being able to measure whether it be temperature, whether it be precipitation, a number of different factors. 47 degrees is where we stand over 7th and Rangeline right now. Nice little bump up throughout southeast Kansas where we had the 20s earlier. We've been pretty consistent south of I-44 as far as southwest Missouri, and waiting to get to that 40-degree mark because our warmer temperatures really have been right here in the central portion of the 4 states. No worries on the Skywatch Storm Tracker, and eventually the sunshine taking us up into the 70s for today. And why don't we just stretch that all the way to Saturday? We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. From the latest Pokemon news to a film about a famous YouTuber, David Daniel with the Hollywood Minute.
Pokemon trainers have 2 new adventures ahead. The Pokemon Company has announced Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet, open-world games in which towns blend into wilderness and wild Pokemon can be found everywhere from the skies to the seas. Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet are due out late this year for the Nintendo Switch.
Hello, all you beautiful people out there. My name is Jacksepticeye.
The documentary How Did We Get Here looks at Sean McLaughlin, better known as Jacksepticeye, the massively popular YouTube personality, entrepreneur, and philanthropist. As a YouTuber used to knowing where the camera is, McLaughlin says his director kept him guessing.
There's shots in the documentary where I'm like, I had no idea you were even there, let alone that you were recording everything. So he was like a ninja trying to get all of these candid shots. And I think that's why it ended up being as good as it is, because a lot of the shots that are in it are so human and so normal.
How Did We Get Here premieres Monday on the live stream platform Moment House, with releases on other digital and VOD platforms to follow. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Actor Benedict Cumberbatch receiving a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Cumberbatch thanking his family, friends, co-workers, and fans for the honor. Cumberbatch nominated for an Oscar for his starring role in the Academy Award-nominated film The Power of the Dog. Later this spring, he'll reprise his role as Doctor Strange in the film Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Neil Diamond. He has sold his extensive and historic song catalog to Universal Music Group for an undisclosed amount. The agreement, it includes previously unreleased tracks and any future music from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee. Diamond retired from touring in 2018. Londoners enjoyed a special extra layer of protection over their city Monday as Batman perched atop the London Eye Ferris wheel when the sun came up. Dark Knight's appearance, a promotion for the movie The Batman, opens in theaters this Friday. Now that it is March, we are closer to the Oscars and the big spring movie releases. We gave David Daniels approximately about 52 seconds. Here he is.
The world as we know it is coming undone. If we're to defeat him, you'll have to trust me.
Mr. Kowalski, we need you.
I said I want an out and I want out.
Well, you do know I'm a witch, right?
The latest trailer is out for Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore, as the future Hogwarts headmaster entrusts Newt Scamander and his friends to battle the forces of the dark wizard Grindelwald. The third installment in the Harry Potter prequel series appears in theaters April 15th.
You know who you are, don't you? You're Buddy from Belfast, where everybody knows you.
Belfast is up for 7 Academy Awards, including 3 for Kenneth Branagh, picture, director, and original screenplay, and supporting nods for Dame Judi Dench and Ciarán Hinds.
When he sent the script, it was magnificent. It was beautiful. It just smacked of truth and humor and heart and soul and everything that you'd like in a script.
Belfast releases on Blu-ray and DVD today. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
We'll be right back to honor this morning's 4-state hero and see how the SAG Awards made history right after this.
It's time to honor today's 4-state hero, Private First Class Richard Fowler. The soldier from Grove, Oklahoma, joined the B Company 28th Infantry in 2007. He served a tour in Iraq. To Private Richard Fowler, we thank you. Today's 4-state hero. The 28th Annual Screen Actors Guild Awards were Sunday night, with actors honoring peers, including with historic wins and where messages of support were shared for the people of Ukraine. Here's Ashley Dvorkin.
We look forward to more opportunities for deaf actors, deaf culture.
The on-screen family of Coda made history as the first film with a predominantly deaf cast to win the Screen Actors Guild top honor for outstanding performance by a cast in a motion picture. Supporting actor Troy Kotzer is also the first deaf actor to win an individual award. Also making history, Squid Game, the first non-English language series to be nominated for SAG Awards, won 3 of 4. In other big wins, film female and male leading role went to Jessica Chastain for The Eyes of Tammy Faye and Will Smith for King Richard. Ariana DeBose took female supporting actor for West Side Story.
Holding a place in our hearts for the people of Ukraine and sending our thoughts, prayers, and hopes for impending peace.
There were several messages of support for Ukraine.
And I think we should really join in celebrating them and hoping that they can actually make a shift, as I believe they can.
And Succession's Brian Cox, who also spoke about performers in Russia. Succession won TV drama. In comedy, Ted Lasso adds another trophy. TV movie or limited series went to Kate Winslet of Mayor of Easttown.
I lost my nephew Michael to drugs, and it hurts. This was for my sister Pam.
And Michael Keaton of Dopesick, who dedicated his win to his nephew.
Lifetime achievement.
Plus, Dame Helen Mirren was honored for Lifetime Achievement at a night which marked the first major televised in-person award show of the season. The theme here was Together Again, and actors up for Oscars will be together again very soon. The Academy Awards are March 27th. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
Another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, a tragic loss of life as a father murders his children, their chaperone, and himself in California. And a couple finds a pearl that will forever leave a lasting memory. You're not going to believe this. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:31. Let's take a look at today's top stories. New CDC guidance might have folks wondering whether they should mask up. People living in areas where the COVID risk is low can now go without a mask or social distancing. CDC outlined new guidelines with less emphasis on testing and more on what hospitals are seeing. Locally, some health experts say in light of declining case numbers here, they agree with the new guidance. In Newton County, daily cases have been in the single digits.
I think that, especially with our numbers as low as they are, that the public can be confident to go out and enjoy activities as normal without wearing the mask. Certainly if you have underlying conditions, you might want to continue to wear the mask, but overall, for healthy people, the mask would not be required.
There are currently only 6 active COVID cases in Newton County. A Southwest Missouri woman is dead from an early Monday morning car crash. It happened on Lawrence County Road 1110, a mile west of Miller. 50-year-old Lori Reed of Miller, Missouri was a passenger in a car that left the road and overturned a little before 2 yesterday morning. She was pronounced dead 90 minutes later. The driver was in serious condition. BP wants to appeal a court's decision that allowed Mulberry, Kansas to sue over soaring natural gas prices last year. BP filed 2 documents last week that indicate it wants to shut down a lawsuit filed by the small Crawford County town. One document seeks permission to appeal a February 8th ruling by Chief District Judge Lori Bolting Fleming before the case goes to trial. In that ruling, Fleming removed the Mulberry city government from the lawsuit but allowed individual residents to proceed with the action, which claims BP's price hikes during a deep freeze in February of 2021 were price gouging. The second court document outlines BP's belief that it cannot be sued by the residents because they do not buy their gas directly from BP. A liberal Missouri man pleads guilty to manslaughter charges and is sentenced in connection with the death of an Oronogo woman in February of last year. Ryan O'Neill gets 10 years in prison for first-degree involuntary manslaughter. Last year, O'Neill was driving a pickup on Highway 43 when he crashed head-on into an SUV. 23-year-old Sevi Devison was driving that SUV. She died at the hospital. Oklahoma Congressman Markwayne Mullin says he will run for the U.S. Senate seat that is coming open after Senator Jim Inhofe's surprise announcement that he's retiring before his term is up. Mullin said in a video message that he planned to enter the race as expected political shakeups begin. Mullin is a plumbing company owner and citizen of the Cherokee Nation. He's currently serving his 5th term representing Oklahoma's 2nd congressional district. Well, at this hour, more than 500,000 refugees have fled Ukraine as talks between Russian and Ukrainian delegations have ended. And now the Pentagon is warning that Russian forces are creeping closer to the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv. Melissa Rainey has the latest.
Air raid sirens becoming a part of everyday life in the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv. Explosions destroying dormitory and residential buildings Monday afternoon. Crude metal spikes surrounded by 2 walls of tires have been laid down across the main road into Inner Hodar, Ukraine, as outmanned and outgunned Ukrainians put their lives on the line in towns across the country in attempts to stop the deadly advancement of Russian forces. Some people even using themselves to block roadways as they face heavy Russian artillery coming their way.
The Russians have not only experienced a stiff and determined resistance by the Ukrainians, but logistics and sustainment problems of their own.
Despite this, the Pentagon is warning that Russian President Vladimir Putin has significant combat power idling by.
He still has a lot that he hasn't moved into Ukraine. You want to talk about escalation? Let's talk about escalation. Mr. Putin is the one escalating this and continues to do so.
One sign of that, Putin has now ordered Russian deterrence forces, which includes nuclear arms, on high alert.
We've seen Mr. Putin's announcement. We believe it's as unnecessary as it is escalatory.
The White House says it wants to reduce the rhetoric and de-escalate after Putin's nuclear deterrence move.
Everybody knows that that is not a war that can be won.
Mr. President, should Americans be worried about nuclear war?
No.
I'm Melissa Rainey reporting.
International Criminal Court has now opened an investigation into the Russian invasion of Ukraine, stating there is a reasonable basis to believe that both alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity have been committed in Ukraine. Well, get ready to party. Mardi Gras festivities culminate today with Fat Tuesday, which is French for Mardi Gras. It's the last day of parades and feasting before the start of Lent. You can participate by attending a local Mardi Gras parade, preparing a feast, and enjoying a king cake. You can post your good times to the social media with the hashtags Fat Tuesday and Mardi Gras.
And kudos to our producers with Laissez les bâtons rouler there at the bottom. Also, too, of note, obviously everybody there is not watching the KOAM Morning News, even though we happen to be big down in Cajun country, for those of you that didn't know. If you plan on going in the future, make sure that you are off the street at promptly 11:59 p.m. on Fat Tuesday.
Yes, because it's cleaning time.
No. NOPD comes through before it's cleaning time. NOPD makes sure those streets are clean for cleaning time.
That's right.
Word to the wise, right? Yeah, I love Mardi Gras. My goodness. Which, by the way, Mardi Gras, this is interesting, Tanya. Mardi Gras now bilking itself as a family-friendly event.
Oh.
Trying to bring more people in post-pandemic now that the parades are out and about. That's kind of their new marketing shift.
Telling you to leave your shirts on. It's family-friendly this year.
I hope everybody out there who has not had a chance to enjoy Mardi Gras at some point in your life is able to take in the sights and sounds of New Orleans, especially during this festive time of year. Hello, Glow Cloud. That's how Michael transitions right there and just gets himself out of it. Daily Almanac on this first day of March with a high that dates back to 2006 of 87 degrees. And although we're going to have abnormally warm temperatures, won't quite get into record-breaking ground anytime soon. But a delightful start, 47 degrees over 7th and Rangeline. Starting to see everybody creep above the freezing mark, minus what we have down south in northeast Oklahoma. Miami and Grove have been stuck at 30 pretty much all morning long. Compare that to the north. We've got a 6 and 9 degree difference where it's very nice in Fort Scott and Nevada, 36 and 39. Skywatch Storm Tracker looking great. In between about 2:30, 4 o'clock is when we hit our peak heating times, and we'll be up in the 70s, not only for today, but able to stretch that all the way into the weekend. By the time Saturday rolls around, we're going to need some rain. We're about 0.8 of an inch below normal. If you go back to January 1, we're about 2 inches down if you go back to December 1. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. This morning on the KOAM News Now Insta poll discussing how you think we should help Ukraine. That young woman right there, Joanna Rack. She happens to be an American student in Poland. She's finishing up her medical degree in Krakow, but now turning her attention to helping refugees crossing the Ukrainian border into Poland. Our question to you this morning, how do you think we should help Ukraine? Right now, 49%, just below the 50% mark, which is curious because this actually started out at 75% earlier this morning. 49% say with armed forces, 39% continue as we are, the economic sanctions, and also delivering the munitions and equipment for the soldiers. 2%, only 2% say we shouldn't be. Appreciate everybody's engagement each and every morning. 5 family members are dead, and that also includes 3 children. It was an apparent murder-suicide at a shooting at a California church. Police say a father walked into the church, shot 3 of his kids. They were all under the age of 15 before he turned the gun on himself. Police say the 5th person found dead was supervising the visit between the father and the kids. It's a crime that's rocked the community. Brittany Hope has reaction.
Attention on the ground. If you saw anything suspicious.
It was like, Mom, like the helicopters are saying lock your doors.
13-year-old Kayla Mendoza heard this as she was painting her toenails at her house tonight.
We just seen the whole SWAT team right there outside and a bunch of cops.
She lives near the church in Sacramento, where authorities say a father shot and killed his 3 young children and the person who was supervising their visit. This teen can't understand how someone around her age could be killed by their own parent.
I'm sorry that you guys had to, die soon. I know it wasn't your time. Your dad, he shouldn't have done that. I don't know why he did that.
This family's home is right across the street from the church. They didn't hear the gunshots, but they rushed outside when deputies flooded their street.
It's just crazy how fast and everybody responded and how many responded. We knew it was serious right, instantly.
Dennis was visiting his brother when the chaos began.
How people can do stuff like that, the stuff that's going on in this world nowadays is just, it's not God sent. It's actually disgusting how people are turning on their own flesh and blood, especially people who haven't even started life yet.
For Samantha Sanchez, it's hitting too close to home.
I have no words for any of this right now. I wonder what puts a person in a mindset to do something like this, honestly.
She now doesn't know if she'll let her little ones play in their own front yard.
I've never experienced something like this, so this is all very new for me, and I'm not sure how to process any of this.
Tonight, all this family can do is be with each other.
I guess tonight, we're just going to make sure our kids know that we love them just a little extra than we already do every day.
We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
The growing popularity of cryptocurrency has also led to a rising number of scams. One woman says she lost millions to someone she thought was a friend. Cheryl Fiandaca reports.
He said his name was Jimmy, handsome, young, and in the U.S. alone. Last October, Cdc says he accidentally messaged her on WhatsApp.
Are you Linda from the pet store? And I messaged back and said, wrong number.
That seemingly innocent exchange quickly escalated into Cindy sharing personal information, including her cancer diagnosis.
Very much a comfort for me at that time. In my mind, it was a relationship.
Within weeks, Jimmy showed Cindy how much money he was making trading in cryptocurrency and offered to help her invest on the platform he was using.
So he said, you're not giving me a dime. This is completely controlled by you.
Jimmy gave her a link, and Cindy set up the account.
And they'll click on those hyperlinks. It will take them to a site that is either spoofed or very close to the legitimate site.
What was the total amount you invested?
Everything said and done, $2.5 million.
The FBI estimates in 2021, 24,000 people fell victim to these type of scams, losing about $1 billion.
With cryptocurrency, it's different. If you give somebody your digital wallet, that is gone instantly. There is no clearing process, so it's very difficult for law enforcement to track that.
Cindy says she became suspicious after having a hard time withdrawing money. But by then, it was too late.
It's interesting the disconnect between your logical self and your emotional self. And I think I was probably the most vulnerable in my entire life. I desperately wanted to believe him.
Cindy says that clouded her judgment. She's now sharing her story to help prevent others from becoming a victim of this scam. Cheryl Fiandaca, CBS News, Boston.
Authorities say do not invest with people you've only met online. Do your research. Don't click on hyperlinks for trading platforms and never share banking information. Well, many businesses are punishing Russia as well. Disney will stop releasing films there, and Netflix is blocking state TV channels. General Motors became the latest automaker to announce it will not export cars to the country. Possibly the one with the biggest consequences. Oil company Shell said yesterday it's joining BP in exiting its ventures in Russia. Well, Airbnb is offering free short-term housing to 100,000 refugees fleeing Ukraine. The company is looking for hosts in Poland, Germany, Hungary, and Romania to help. The stays are funded by Airbnb's nonprofit arm. We'll be right back with more after this, but first, let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
A couple celebrating a milestone anniversary at a seafood restaurant left with something a little extra special to remember the event. It's worth enough cash to keep celebrations going for some time. Alicia Reed with their story.
How are you guys? Good. How are you? The Spresslers are back at the Lobster House, checking in with their waiter, Alberto.
It's like a once-in-a-lifetime event.
Last Sunday, Michael ordered his usual appetizer, a dozen clams on half shell.
I was down to the 12th one, and when I picked it up with the fork, it looked kind of heavy, but I didn't think nothing of it. And then when I started to eat it, I noticed something was in my mouth. I actually thought one of my teeth broke.
It was actually a pearl.
He's eaten dozens and dozens of clams, and we've never found anything like that. So it was pretty exciting.
Not only did something spectacular and rare happen on their impromptu trip, the couple was also celebrating something special.
It was actually our anniversary of 34 years of coming here for the very first time. So that even makes it more special.
We first came here President's Day weekend in '87.
Yeah. The popular restaurant is celebrating its centennial year. Not a bad gift for the Spresslers to walk away with.
I have worked here for around 10 years now, and I've never heard of somebody finding one in one of our oysters or clamshells.
A whopping 8.8 millimeters. It could go for thousands of dollars, but money is no factor in this equation.
I would like to have it set into a nice piece of jewelry, maybe with a mermaid or something nautical, as a beautiful remembrance of that day, and what we have is so special.
Their story has inspired others.
I've never eaten raw clams or oysters, but since somebody found something, I might have to give it a shot.
Now, according to the Pearl Source website, the sea stone could be worth between $50,000 and $100,000, depending on the body of water it came from. Ron and I, talking here in the studio, you got to tip the waiter and you got to tip the cook, right? If you end up selling that, that's a great story right there. Current conditions over 7th and Rangeline find ourselves at 47 degrees on this first day of March. With the southwest wind that will not calm down, it'll work up around 35 miles per hour. A little bit cool, especially throughout southeast Kansas and northeast Oklahoma. Southwest Missouri has been consistently in the 40s all morning. Sit back and enjoy the sunshine combined with the southwesterly breeze. 70s all the way to the weekend. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. As the war in Ukraine moves into its 6th day, the country's delegates held talks with Russia, but there was no discernible progress. Attacks continuing in Kyiv and other cities. Satellite images show a massive Russian convoy about 17 miles from Kyiv that may stretch for 40 miles. Defense official says forces may attempt to circle the capital city within days. Russian President Vladimir Putin again warned that nuclear forces are on high alert. United Nations General Assembly is also holding an emergency special session, the first in 40 years. President Biden will deliver his first State of the Union address tonight. He's expected to talk about the war in Ukraine, rising prices, and recovering from the pandemic. And Mardi Gras is in full swing in New Orleans on this Fat Tuesday, following last year's cancellation of parades because of the coronavirus. There are some changes because of COVID. Parade routes are shorter and most are following the same path.
Sunny skies, temps in the 70s for our first full week of March. Now, we're going to need some rain eventually, and it'll be here by the time we get from Saturday night into Sunday. A little bit of a cold front from Sunday into Monday, but still, compared to what we had in February, not too bad at all. Tanya, you ready for a little New York Merc news?
Okay.
You go ahead. I'll hit it at the end.
All right. Well, Target is making moves beyond Black History Month to celebrate and uplift Black lives every day of the year with products like these, part of a collection called Creating Our Own Future. 86% of the items in this collection were created by Black business owners and designers, the most ever. Target has also plans to continue mentoring and partnering with Black entrepreneurs and creators. It's donated millions to social justice organizations and plans to invest more than $2 billion in Black-owned brands by the year 2025. Company says Black employees will represent 20% of its workforce within 3 years. This year alone, it's making a $300 million pay wage investment, setting a starting wage range from $15 to $24 an hour.
As of 5 minutes ago, West Texas Intermediate, $100.12.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Thank you for letting us put the good in your morning. Back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.